Can you count in a language without numbers? A couple weeks ago, I was introduced to the fascinating case of the Pirata people. This is a small tribe in the Brazilian Amazon, the sole surviving offshoot of a larger people called the Mira. Neither group is all that big. The Mira currently have just 12,000 and the Pirata just under 1,000. The Pirata were brought to my attention because I have been thinking a great deal about numbers lately. Specifically, I'm trying to figure out if mathematics is real in a sense, or if it is merely a formal convention that happens to allow humans to analyze and manipulate reality with precision. This is an old debate that goes back a long way and intersects not only with mathematics, but science, philosophy, linguistics, economics, technology, and, well, pretty much everything. We use numeric language so instinctively that we don't even notice it. Pay attention today and tomorrow. How often do you think you speak in terms of numeracy? Too many to count, so to speak. The Pirata are fascinating because they don't have words for numbers. They don't speak of 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. That seems strange, doesn't it? This leads many linguistic theorists to speculate about how language shapes perception, which is known as linguistic relativity. Today, I gather that most linguists hold a softer stance, which is to say that there is a reciprocal relationship between language and cognition. How flexible is language, and how moldable is cognition? If I lived among the Inuit for a bit, it seems certain I would return with many more words for snow than I had entered, and that I would become quite attuned to the different textures of precipitation to which they referred. But if I traveled to a new place and discovered many animals that had never been seen before, I would certainly begin to develop a vocabulary to describe them as I paid attention. Another such example is when different people do the same psychotropic drugs and begin to develop a shared vocabulary for the proprietary sensations that come with them. So it seems clear to me that language and cognition are mutually plastic. I was interested in numeric cognition, though. The Pirata don't refer to specific numbers, so can mathematical reasoning be a condition for experience? Kant thought it was, and asserted it as one of his categories in the famous Critique of Pure Reason of 1781. Granted, he was a white Westerner. Is this really so universal as he claimed? And do the Pirata disprove it? I don't think they do, even if they challenge it, but here's my sense of it. Watch this short video. Very short.
As his fluency grew, Everett began to realize something was missing. The Pitaha have no words for colors, no past or future tense. And incredibly, the Pitaha have no numbers. Research from MIT indicates the Pitaha may be the only culture on Earth without any numeracy.
The Pitaha don't have numbers because they don't need them. They survive just fine without them. Somebody asked me once, you mean Pitaha mothers don't know how many children they have? Well, that's exactly what I mean. They don't know how many children they have, but they know all of their children's names and they know all of their children's faces. They don't need to know how many children they have to know who their children are and how they feel about them.
Link below. Two things stand out to me and indicate that they do think mathematically, even if it doesn't immediately seem that way. Number one, they do refer to quantities, and they have two words for this. One means a few, and the other means a lot. At a certain point, it switches from a few to a lot. The video doesn't show us exactly where, nor does it refer to experiments that look for a consistent point, and indeed there may not be one. This is essentially a version of the ancient Sorites paradox, which asks when a heap emerges as grains of sand are added to a pile. So they have a sense of quantity. There is also a word for big, which I would argue is also related to quantity. But here's the second and more significant point. At the end, there is that moving quote. They don't know how many children they have, but they know all their children's names, and they know all their children's faces. They don't need to know how many children they have to know who their children are and how they feel about them. While they may not number them, they know their children's faces, which is to say that they are distinguished from all else, and they are named. But what is distinction and what is naming? When we distinguish any object, when we name anything, what are we doing? I would assert that we are numbering it in a very real sense. Are we not? Specifically, we are numbering it as 1. While the Pirata may not have a word for 1 as we do, I would argue that 1 is merely a mathematical or computational extension of entity. If we perceive an entity and draw a boundary around it, it becomes countable through what we call natural numbers, which are the counting numbers, starting with 1. I think 1 must be the primary number, or else the world doesn't add up, in a sense. I call this the entity boundary unity transcendental generative trialectic, or EBU-TGT for short, by the way, and I believe it is not only the precondition for experience, but existence as well. I don't know how it could be otherwise. That's a debate we could have, but it is clearer to me that even the Pirata, while they don't manipulate quantity in the same way that we do, abide by this. To name anything is to acknowledge the EBU-TGT. What is within the boundary is the entity, and what is around the entity is the boundary, and this is a unit. We can then accumulate units through the sequence of the natural numbers. All other mathematics emerges from that, I suspect. It is merely a matter of precision. The Pirata do work at a certain level of precision, and for their purposes, few and a lot are sufficient. It can't build a car, launch a rocket, or program a computer, but that's not what they do. And I suspect that much of the Western neurosis actually longs for a mode of being more like the Pirata, liberated from the meta drive of technological development and advancement, toward which our entire civilizational infrastructure seems oriented in some way, and from which emerges greater and greater technological capability that simultaneously empowers and demoralizes. Every new technology shows great promise and also great disadvantage, and it never stops, and it is our entire orientation. The alternative is to freeze progress, as some social groups try to do, or to live like the Pirata, for whom a few and a lot is sufficiently precise for science and technology. And this is not a judgment, merely a therapeutic diagnosis. I call it the human metadrive for the expansion of labor-saving technology. We are never really saved. Our creativity and ingenuity is simply rerouted. Is this compelling? Cruel? As I said, it's just a diagnosis. Remember, though, that I was thinking about mathematics and whether all humans have a form of it. And I think we do. And it's because reality emerges through entity, and unity is the foundation of computation. The meta drive was a psychotherapeutic bonus, and I think many of us need that right now. By the way, if you appreciated that, you might enjoy my 2023 book, The Complete Science of Human Dynamics, which gives 5 other species-level psychotherapeutic diagnoses. Oh, and I almost forgot. Contemplating the Pirata language provokes deep questions about what it means to engage with reality and exactly what language is doing. Large language models, or LLMs, like Claude, ChatGPT, help us with this process, illuminating the deep structure of language. I created a custom GPT that allows you to translate English into Pirata ontology while still in English. They don't have temporality, past, future, present, either. I've been playing with it all afternoon. Give it a try. It's fascinating and seems to make the computer think pretty hard. After all, it is performing a feat of not only linguistic, but metaphysical translation. The link is below. And careful, you might have to discipline it. I caught it using numbers the other day.